So for my SEE project, I was gonna do just Miller Farms like last time, but I don't like the way that it enters in AG, so I was just gonna do it this way. I'm just gonna go over some products that I use and some soils that I use, and also what I'm gonna be doing today, which is usually what I do like less than like every other week. First thing I'm gonna mention is the iron chelate. I use this, I put it in this water gallon, so it's good to get one that's like at least a gallon big, because most fertilizers it's like 1 teaspoon per gallon. So if you fill it up and put the teaspoon in, that's the dosage you're supposed to use. I like this one because my lemon tree has a really bad iron deficiency. That usually happens with lemon trees, especially when they get too much sun. I usually use this at least usually like every other week. I don't try to overdo it with this because it's not organic. So it's organic based, but it's not organic, so I can't overdo it a little bit because it's got too much numbers in there. Second fertilizer. This is the Bloom fertilizer. It's got seaweed in it. It's by Maxi. All the stuff we sell at my work, but this is the Maxi. It's a bloom fertilizer. So basically its purpose is to like make the flowers bloom, and it'll make things fruit. If it's like an apple tree, or if it's like something like that, if it's something that fruits, usually has that bloom first, so people use this on their blueberries or stuff like that. Next one, now that I mentioned blueberries, this is an acid fertilizer. This is an acid fertilizer. It's for blueberries, like rhododendrons, stuff like that, things that like acidic fertilizer. I use this not very often because I don't want to overdo my plant, and I usually overdo it in the thing anyway. I do this a little bit, but this one is organic, so I don't really worry about going overboard. But actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't really like this fertilizer. Not that it doesn't do a good job, it just like it's really clumpy, and it's got like, it's like oatmeal almost. It like gets stuck in here and it doesn't like go down all the way, and it's already like clogged all in my, I had to get a new one because it's like it clogs it. I'm gonna use the rest of it, it's whatever. Something else that was back here. So these are the two vegetable fertilizers that I have. This one's Miracle-Gro. I try not to use this one as much. It does have good results, but it's like plant crack. It basically just like beefs them up real quick in the beginning, and they like just kind of like aren't very good plants in the end. They die quicker. But it's okay to use a little bit of this, I would say, but not like all the time. Like this is a good overall just use. They've used so much of it. I bought it like 2 weeks ago. Basically, this one's really easy because it's organic. It's by Kellogg's. And the numbers are really low, so you could just kind of sprinkle as much as you need on there, and it works really, really well. So yeah, and then basically I just sprinkle this on there. It's not one that you put in the gallon, you just sprinkle it on top, like around the plants, and then I water it down. So that one's really good. That's gonna be it for the fertilizers that I use. The one that I use the most is this one. Actually, right now I just mixed a little bit of, I had one of these is almost empty, it didn't have a dose left in it, so I just dumped it in here, just so that everything else that I feed gets a little bit of iron, so whatever. But yeah, that's it for the fertilizer. Talked about this is a good thing to get. Any 1 gallon like water for fertilizing, just so you can manage your doses. So this is a Harvest Supreme mix. It's really good amendment for like soils. I wouldn't recommend putting it just in a pot or something like that, but if you wanted to just go ahead and put it in like in your garden bed or something bigger, you will still mix it with some potting soil, unless it's going in the ground, and that's okay. But if it's in containers, I would mix it with potting soil, but it is really good amendment. It's 15% chicken manure. This is, oops, okay, first this is the seed starting mix. So this is really good for starting seeds, especially ones that don't grow in just straight soil. Sometimes they want something a little bit more sterile and light, so this is a really good one. This is Spoma. Oh, and the Harvest Supreme, this is from Kellogg's also. It's the same brand as the tomato fertilizer. But this one's from Spoma. It's really light and fluffy. I really like it. It's really nice. And then this potting soil, it's organic. All of this stuff is organic. Yeah, the soils and stuff is all organic, but so yeah, this is like really light fluffy soil. It's really actually similar to this, but it's like just regular potting soil, which is really nice, and it works really well. And then this right here, this one's interesting. This one I use for like cactuses and succulents because it's more sandy texture, and you don't have to worry about watering them as much, because usually the succulents and cactuses it's really easy to like overwater them, because if you're watering them just as much as your other plants and you have the same kind of potting soil in there, then it doesn't drain as much as they want them to. So this actually drains really, really well. It's really good. And then, so basically what I'm going to be doing with all this stuff is I'm just going to water with it. We'll fertilize, but put it in the water and then fertilize everything with it. But we're also going, oh my god, I have no clue what it is. I think it's coffee. I'm going to be putting in some of these seeds I don't know if you can see, but there's like peas. I'm pretty sure this is lettuce. This is supposed to be chard, but I don't know. Yeah, that's dead. I don't know what the deal is with that. So that's a pea right there. I was just germinating them so it'd be easier to see all those little things on there. Okay. This one's looking really good, but this one's like, see how brown it is? Like, why is it like that? No, those ones are lettuce. These ones are, what are these ones? These ones are broccoli, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, these ones are broccoli. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing. I'm gonna go have that. So as you can see, it's pretty crappy outside, which is good for those seeds because you don't want a bunch of sun beating down on them when you're trying to plant them, because then it won't work as well. So this is actually really good weather to be planting anything, whether it's seeds or starts or anything, because then it won't burn them out when there's a bunch of sun. So this is the half oak barrel. It's got quite a few things going on in it. So there's some strawberries. First off, we should probably start with the lemon tree. That's what it was originally meant for. There's a lemon tree in there. I'm trying to get it to grow and hopefully fruit this year. It's not looking too hot, but that's what the iron chelate is for. That's what I mentioned earlier. But we also have some strawberries used as a ground cover to keep in some moisture. They're also fun to have. We also have some snapdragons in there. Those were originally in another pot, but then I got bored of them, so my dad kind of ripped them out and threw them in there, and they started growing, so that was cool. So in this pot, next to my barrel, we've got some cucumbers, some lemon cucumber, and some pickling cucumbers. Honestly, I have no clue which ones are which, but they're actually growing pretty good. I see some slugs are eating them. That could be caterpillars too, but pretty sure it's slugs. Usually I put down some Sluggo for that, but I just haven't been because I'm lazy. But that usually helps them from eating all the leaves and they can grow better. So these are chives. They're flowering right now, which is cool. Last year they didn't flower, but I also got them last year, so I'm not really going to say too much about them. They're pretty moist, honestly. I don't know how they're surviving, but they're doing it. They're doing it well, so they taste really good. That's about it. So these are the pumpkins. I wasn't really planning on having pumpkins, but my dad decided to smash up a pumpkin and throw it in one of my planters that I was actually using, and I was like, whatever, and then they started to grow. So that wasn't cool, so I ripped them all out and he got really mad, so I planted new ones, and this is them. They're actually doing pretty good. They came up in like a few days. I planted them by seed, so that was pretty good. I don't expect them to get very big. I don't even know if they're gonna grow, but we're just doing it to please him. We'll see how it goes. So these are some melons I got a little bit less than a week ago. I'm not sure which one's which, but one of them's supposed to be a watermelon and one of them's supposed to be like a cantaloupe kind of thing. Same with these ones. I'm just testing them out. I don't know if they're gonna grow or how well they're gonna do. Usually they want hotter climates like Willow Creek or, you know, places like that are more humid. They usually don't like it up here, but we're just gonna see how it goes. Okay, so this is my blueberry plant. I got this like a month ago, and this is what I use the acid fertilizer for. It's like the only thing I use it for, which is really good because blueberries are known for liking acid fertilizer. If you're putting it in the ground, usually you would use a acid planting mix. So I actually also use a blooming fertilizer for these ones because as you can see right there, there's the bloom. So as you can see with the flowers, as they bloom and then eventually die off, then there's going to be a berry there. So that's why people usually use a bloom fertilizer for things that fruit, because it encourages the bloom, which then turns into a berry. So this is kind of also a tester too. I'm not really good with seeds, so I tried putting that seed starter mix and putting some flowers in there and see how it works. As you can see, some of them actually are growing, some of them just look like crap. That's because of how much moisture is in there. I made a mistake and I left a saucer under there, and so they've been just sitting there moist and nice for like 2 weeks. That's really not good because then it can make the roots rot and then it just dies, so it's not good, and also doesn't get very much, well, it does get some, but then it just gets like hot, like watery dirt in there, and that's not good. So make sure that they don't have too much water. Yeah, I'm not doing anything to these right now. They really need to dry out because of all the green stuff on top there. That's because of the Maxi. It has seaweed in there, and if you put too much of it on there, and it gets, you know, too soggy like it is right here, then it'll start greening on top, which is not necessarily not good, but it's also a sign of there being way too much water. So I actually don't know which ones are which, but we have in here some California poppies, some snapdragons, zinnias, and some echinacea. So these are actually my 9 million radish plants, because this is when I tried to first start seed, and what I did was I did half and half of one of the planters, which had radishes, half of it, and half of it was Brussels sprouts, and the radishes just took off. So I did another window box of them, and they are just going crazy. Obviously you can see I put way too many seeds inside of each thing, which you'll see later when I pull one of them out, but I would not recommend doing that. You only need like one of them, especially when they're radishes and they grow so quick. So I planted these a little over a month ago, I would say, and as you can see, like I said, they are taking off like crazy. Like, they're already radishes now. You can see me pulling one out right now. They're not very big, but they will get a lot bigger, but you could totally pull these and eat these right now. They're fine. I would probably recommend that they get a little bit bigger, because then they're not as like spicy or whatever that is that they are. Basically, the longer that you wait, the more water they'll have in them, the more refreshing taste that they'll have. But as you can see, this is pretty good radish. The way I can tell is if the leaf part is starting to turn yellow, then that means they're probably getting close to ready or about ready. So I'm not really going to talk too much about these. These are basically just Brussels sprouts. I was just same with the radishes, just seeing if they would grow. They're kind of growing, not really. I don't really know how they grow. So that's just about it for those. Seems like they're doing okay. I'm not really going to go into too much detail about this one either, because basically it's just a huge kale that I bought. It's called a cosmic kale. I got it at work. It's basically just kale that's already really big. It will get that big, like the ones that I have in my barrel later on. They will get that big, but they're just not that big yet. They'll actually get bigger too, so that's that. So this is a Grosso lavender. This is actually my child, pretty much. This is one of the first plants I got when I first started working at Miller Farms 2 years ago. It was originally in a 1-gallon pot, and this is how big it got, which is actually pretty surprising. At first I was concerned because it would grow and grow, but it wouldn't get any of the flowers. And so basically I just kept feeding it with that bloom fertilizer for like 2 years, and it wouldn't get any flowers. And this year, all of a sudden, it's getting more flowers. So that's actually pretty cool. I usually have this to make essential oils, or I usually use it for tea, which is actually really good. These don't take very much to take care of. They're on the drier side, and they can also take a lot of moisture. Like in this tub, there's like no drainage, and it's super wet, and you can see it's still doing fine. So they're really not that hard to take care of. Just make sure you don't overwater them. So this is the second barrel. It's got quite a lot going on, but what we see right here is some lettuce. I'm pretty sure it's Murado lettuce, something like that. It's just basic lettuce I've been putting in there. There is one that was in the back that it was from a while ago, and it wasn't getting any bigger, but it also wasn't dying. And also all the other 6 packs of that same one I put in there, they kept dying too, so I'm just kind of letting it hang, see what's going on. But other than that, the rest was doing good. So up next we have the cilantro. Same deal with that last lettuce. I planted some cilantro. They were in a 6-pack, and they did not do very well. They just started getting this brown stuff on the tips, and I went and asked my manager, and she said that there were 2 different things either going on. Either that there was too much water and the roots were rotting, so the plant didn't like it, so that's why they kept getting that moist brown stuff on the end, or it could be the chicken manure that I put in there, which was part of the Harvest Supreme, which could have been burning the tips, which does happen if you put too much chicken manure in something. But this was only 15% chicken manure, and I put only a little bit in a whole barrel, so I'm pretty sure it was the moisture that was an issue. So I pulled it into the sun a little bit more, and so everything started doing great. So this is all of the kale that I have. This is probably 1 6-pack. There's different varieties, I'm not sure which one's which, but they taste pretty much the same. So these actually were having the same problem as my chard and my cilantro. You can kind of see on the tips how it was, but these actually got huge, and now they're taking over like the whole barrel, so kudos to them, they're doing well. So this is the chard. You can see once again that there's the brown stuff on the ends. This is the only one that I can't get to grow really that well, because of the stuff growing on the ends, and also the kale took off, so it's kind of blocking the sun from the chard since they're in the middle. That's why earlier when you saw the seed and there's that chard that died, is because I was trying to start some more chard, but they're just not doing it this year, I guess. So that's that. So this is just some of the miscellaneous things in my yard. Like these are some snapdragons. I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do with them yet. They're pretty strong at the base, so that's pretty good. They're not very hard to take care of. Like I said earlier, my dad kind of just ripped some of those out that were in the half oak barrel and just kind of threw them there, and they're growing now, so that's good. So something you do want to watch out though for in snapdragons when you're buying them especially is how big the flowers are when they are growing, because sometimes when the flowers are too big, whoever grows them, usually the flowers will bloom first before the stems are strong enough, and so they will hang over, and they're not supposed to hang over. Usually you're supposed to trim them at the base and wait for them to grow. I know the flowers are pretty, but you'll have a lot more strength in the stems if you cut them lower when they first start growing, and then they will get stronger as they keep growing. So this is my hanging basket. Once again, don't mind the soil. I don't know why I know why it's so moist. It's because it's not draining properly because of the pot, but still though. That purple stuff you see there, that's sweet alyssum. I usually prefer the white stuff, but we only had the purple stuff at work. The other stuff in the back, there's some fuchsia. They're not blooming yet. Then there's also, I'm not sure what that green stuff is. It's just like a leafy stuff that'll hang over. I thought it was cute. The flower though in the middle, that's a dahlia. Once again, you can see the ones around that are dying. It's because it's way too moist in there, but they're blooming really, really quick. That's from the bloom fertilizer. I've been putting bloom fertilizer in there when I first potted it, because then the flowers would bloom and then they would all look pretty, but I'm not watering it right now because it's way too moist. So this one is by far one of my favorite plants. It's a succulent, actually. It's got a bright pink flower on it. They're not very hard to take care of. I haven't really touched mine. I've been spraying it with some bloom fertilizer because I wanted the flowers to bloom because they're really pretty. But yeah, other than that, I just kind of planted it and it took off. The second one that's sitting next to it was in the half oak barrel, but it just took over everything, so I just took it out and put some veggies in there. But yeah, that's about it. It grows really big. It takes a little bit to get big. This one that I'm about to show you now, I planted it in the ground about a year ago, and it was only 1 gallon by the time I planted it, and it took off. It's ginormous. I'm going to show you a better picture or video of it because it's really blurry right here, but so this one right here is a dahlia. I got it last year as a bulb, and it was already growing and it looked really good. I kept it in that pot that the lavender was in for a little bit, and it was doing really good. Then I took it out and I put it in the ground, and it seems to be doing okay. I wanted it to come up a little bit faster, but I mean, it's up, it's ready to produce. You can see that there is a lot of caterpillar marks in it, which usually I would just spray with some BT. The easiest way would just be to find the caterpillar and squish it, but if you can't do that, then just get some BT and spray it, and hopefully it'll go away. Usually it works pretty well though. So this is our last plant. Don't mind the iron chelate just vibing in the background. But this is a peony. It was doing really well when I first got it. Now it's just kind of eh. It was in the sun too much, so the bloom you can see at the beginning, it was like just black and gross. Usually they like a little bit of shade, not too much sun, but they also don't like too much shade either. So they're kind of picky, but if you get them in a good spot and just leave them there, then they'll be fine. So that's about it for the outside stuff. Now I'm going to show you a time lapse of me watering and fertilizing all this stuff. Bodies hit the floor.